Hello and welcome to the Fast and the Curious. My name is Christian Hugill and we're here in the studio on a Sunday, highly unusual because we are about to watch the final race of the season, the 2024 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where there is still loads to play for, including, of course, the Constructors' Championship, where McLaren start as the firm favourites, but by the time you're watching or listening to this, who knows, there might have been an upset. We will be debriefing the Grand Prix as usual, plus you might get a little bit of our reactions beforehand in the company of ex-F1 Academy driver Chloe Grant. Chloe, welcome to our home. Thank you for coming to watch the race with us. Are you excited?
I'm very excited and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an utter pleasure. I'm looking forward to watching the race with you. Don't worry, some snacks, including Nando's, are on the way. Other chicken-based providers of food are available. Also here is Betty Glover. Betty, how excited are you to be watching the race? Betty's doing football. It's the cardboard cutout, but that's fine. Hi, Betty. She's sat there looking lovely.
So excited.
Betty, for now, thank you. And Greg James is on his way and will be here any minute and will be joining us to debrief the race. The opening titles are literally playing as we speak, which is meaning we've now reached the point where I'm not really comfortable talking anymore because I need to be watching intently and become quite antisocial. Chloe, apologies for this in advance.
Fine, I understand.
Not an overly nice person when I'm watching Formula One. So let's watch the final race of the season. Let's get excited and we'll talk to you very shortly.
Guys, I'm here.
Greg's here. Greg, move Betty up. Greg James has arrived. Oh,
Greg!
Brutally kicked out cardboard cutout Betty.
That's showbiz. Oh, so I might be here.
Yeah.
Hi, Chloe.
Hi.
Hi, Christian.
Hi, we're literally about to start.
We're on, I know. I've been watching the build-up in the cab.
Are you in the car, on the go?
I did a sing-along for the final time, the theme tune.
I'm
More in a
pleased for
minute.
you, but be quiet.
Here we go.
Oh.
This race is going to be amazing.
Oh, that's really close.
Oh, no! Piastri and Verstappen have collided.
Oh my god. Greg, you jinxed this.
How did I jinx it? I said it was going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
Oh no, poor Oscar.
I thought that was going to end in tears. You could see from the minute the two of them went into that corner.
This is exactly what we didn't
Oh, someone drowned!
Is that Perez? Oh my god.
Oh, no.
This is a bad day to be in Red Bull.
Look at all these lot at the back as well.
Jeez.
I love a bit of end of season bad behaviour.
Christian, what's the latest?
Well, we're halfway through the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Greg, and really where we are, if we're focusing on the Constructors' Championship, is that Lando Norris just needs to bring it home. It's probably, but not definitely, going to be a two-stop. Their first pit stop was absolutely stunning. Carlos Sainz in second hasn't got the pace really to challenge, I don't think. So all Lando needs to do is bring it home and McLaren win the Constructors' Championship.
From a driver's point of view, Chloe, what have you enjoyed? What have you been alarmed at so far?
What have I been alarmed at?
Yeah.
Good question,
Chloe's
Greg.
been alarmed at the lack of Nando's arriving yet, I think.
I'm kind of
Producer
hungry.
Jimmy's getting a
No, it's
hard
fine.
time
No
here.
rush, no rush. Jimmy's doing a good job. I think obviously the start was unexpected, although Greg jinxed us, so
I said it would be exciting.
it was exciting. I don't know. It's been good. I mean, I'm surprised how well Gasly's holding up.
Yeah.
It proves that he has. Oh, what's happening now?
Got a slow
Oh my god,
moving
there's another thing happening now.
Valtteri Bottas.
Oh, no, not Valtteri.
Oh, and a hashtag slow moving Sauber.
Oh, look at his wheel. It's coming off the rim.
Oh,
He's got a puncture.
oh, the
Oh,
tyre.
no.
Oh,
Now, if you're new to
Valtteri.
Formula One, tyres work considerably better with air in them.
Oh,
Good
poor,
observation.
Poor, did we get a clip from
Doesn't look
K-Mag?
like. Oh no!
That wasn't a clip. That was a big
Valtteri
shunt.
and Kevin, the old boys, on their final races, clouting each other.
Oh, no.
Oh, Valtteri's locked up. Oh, dear.
Oh, they've taken each other
That's
out.
so sad.
Oh, that was clumsy as anything.
Time for retirement, granddads.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
The old boys clappering each
Oh,
other in
no.
Tesco car park. Kevin, isn't that just effing great?
Valtteri was actually doing not too bad this weekend as well. Like
Valtteri had a great weekend.
Yeah.
That
that's a
is
shame.
full on
rubbish.
Oh yeah, that's full on Grosjean. That.
As we were speaking about our mid debrief, it just got way more exciting and intense. But yeah, there's been so much going on in this race to observe. It's still so much is going on, and we're just watching constantly the positions of the McLaren and the Ferrari to see who's going to get this constructors championship.
I just want to say here what I remember.
Yeah.
David Croft, I'm watching you using my Abu Dhabi do line at the start of the coverage. I'm aware of it. It's been noted by the stewards, and there will be an investigation after the race. Okay.
That was between Crofty and James here.
That was a commentary incident.
And just before we get on with the rest of the race, Greg, you've also discovered that you don't like one particular Formula One term in this Grand Prix, haven't you?
I don't like traffic.
You don't like traffic.
Yeah,
So
I don't like, he's stuck in traffic.
At Fast Curious Pod, we'd like a sexier, more motor racing-y name for traffic, please. Fast Curious Pod, if we could look at that would be great.
I just want to, just before we go back into the race and watch it a bit more, Chloe, I want to dig into what you think is going through Lando's head. He's obviously a very experienced driver, but when you're he's got the weight of an entire company on his shoulders here.
Do you know what? I think it'd be pretty chill. I mean, for any racing driver, when it comes to these kind of situations where you're under pressure, if you can't handle the pressure, then you're not going to be as quick as Lando currently is. You're not going to be a good driver. So he'll probably just be pretty chilled, to be honest.
Cool.
I mean, you see out of the car, he's a pretty chilled out guy. So I imagine he's just focusing on keeping up good quick laps and keeping it on track and not making any mistakes.
So with Oscar way down. Well, actually, no, he's climbing up again, isn't he? He's at 9th at the minute.
Yeah, but Oscar hasn't done his pit stop yet, which he'll have to serve his 10-second penalty as well.
Okay, so he's...
Wait, did he have a penalty?
He's
yeah, he did.
He's not
that was
served
for
that yet.
hitting Franco, yeah.
So with Lando, really, you don't think there's going to be any mistakes from him, but it could be...
he's serving it now. That's the penalty.
He's serving.
Serving.
Christian, he's serving his penalty like a queen.
Yes, Oscar, serving penalty.
He's serving at the Yas Marina.
Yas Marina.
So,
Greg, hi.
The Lando thing, which I find really interesting, is that what you were talking about a minute ago, about the thing that could really stop him here is a technical problem with the car. And you made the point of it being late in the season.
Well, McLaren's reliability has been great this year. I think the only thing stopping Lando winning this race is a reliability problem. If there's going to be a reliability problem, it happens at the end of the season because it's the last race for the engine, it's the last race for the gearbox. It is literally race 24 of 24. There is not unlimited resource to constantly change everything on these cars, hence they have to have so many parts per season. If there's going to be a reliability problem, it might happen at the end of the race, but we're not thinking that. We're manifesting positive things for our friends over at McLaren. It would be a lap 34. It would be a phenomenal surprise if Lando Norris didn't win this race. Shall we find out if he will or not?
Yeah, there's one more thing I'd like to say before we get back to the race, is for a bit of balance on this circuit, because everyone's going like, oh my God, Abu Dhabi's amazing, and that's because they're in the pockets of Abu Dhabi. We're not. We haven't been paid by them yet. I think it looks like an NCP car park.
But you say that largely because of the exit to the pits, don't you? Looks like they should collect a ticket and go into the tunnel.
They're like, oh my God, it's the most expensive circuit in the world. Yeah, but we should have made it look like a NCP when you collect the ticket up the barrier. Because it goes under the road and then
You don't like that, do you?
I don't love it.
No.
Anyway.
You go tell him, Greg.
Yeah. Up yours, Abu Dhabi.
But
until they pay us loads of money for the podcast.
There is a roller coaster on the site.
I don't care for roller coasters.
Oh, I do. I love a roller coaster.
Oh, I do too. I'm with Christian here.
We'll go to Alton Towers next year.
We will.
Greg can wait with the bags.
Bye-bye.
And on that bombshell, let's watch the remainder of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Let's Abu Dhabi do that.
Hello, Greg and Betty here, interrupting this episode with a reminder that even though we're closing in on the end of the season, there's still a chance to get up close to the world of Formula One. After the racing finishes, you should head to the F1 exhibition. It's toured all over the world now. It's at the XL Centre in London. Betty, you were at the launch event. Was it good?
It was very good, Greg. And actually, if you sort of have a free couple of hours, free few hours in your day and you're wondering what to do with yourself, you need to go to this. If you love Formula One or you're just interested in the sport, sort of getting to know it, it is like walking through a sort of encyclopedia of the sport. You learn so much. So you could spend all day in there if you wanted to and you didn't have anything else to do.
Christian would Christian would spend a week in there. Can you Airbnb it? Because if you can, he would.
I think he would bring his sleeping bag and camp in the corner, wouldn't he? And just sort of stare.
I think he'd take a little Wendy house.
Yeah.
And just sleep next to his favourite car from the old days.
But do you know what? It is so cool because there's like so many different immersive rooms that sort of take you through the past, the present, and then also like the future of Formula One. And you can see so much detail. You're a bit of a geek, Greg. You pretend you're not, but you really are a bit of a geek.
No,
you
right.
love seeing like the details about how cars are designed and all of that stuff. So you would love it. But one of the most fascinating bits for me was seeing the Romain Grosjean, the car that he obviously crashed in at the Bahrain Grand Prix in 2020. And they've got the sort of remains of the car in the middle of a room, but it is fascinating to see. And then on the screen, it sort of takes you through how the crash happened and what happened there. Right. And it is honestly so good to see because he survived. He walked out of that car, which is so impressive. So,
well, if you're a sicko like Betty and you want to see a car crash, or you might want to hang out with Max Verstappen's actual car from that 2021 title battle and Ayrton Senna's 1988 championship-winning McLaren, then it's all there for you. They've recently extended the exhibition to the 2nd of March 2025 because it's due to popular demand. It's also selling out fast, so if you're thinking of giving yourself a little end-of-season treat, or it does work out as the perfect Christmas present for the F1 obsessive in your life, then head to f1exhibition.com. That's f1exhibition.com and have a nice time. And now, back to the broadcast.
And we have just watched the 2024 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the constructors' champions are McLaren!
Hey! Oh, actually, you know what?
Hello. Greg, for the podcast listeners, has nipped off to get some champagne glasses. They're just normal glasses,
Are you
but
going to spray
budget.
it like you would on the podium, Greg?
He's got some champagne, everyone!
No, I want to spray it all over the place, but I think it would be a dreadful waste.
Yeah, it might be a bit of a big
This is a lovely Laurent Perrier.
Oh,
Rosé champagne.
A rosé champagne?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
We're classy in here. We're not... Abu Dhabi's not as classy as this.
No, sure. Not as classy as the Fast and the Curious.
Yeah.
So, yes, we've just watched the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and let's remind ourselves of the headlines while Greg is uncorking the champagne. Of course, the biggest news is that McLaren are the Constructors' Champions. We're going to talk a lot about that. We'll talk about some sterling drives up the grid from Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. We'll talk about Sergio Perez. We'll wrap up the rest of the Constructors' Championship, and we will talk about our plans for our final episode of the 2024 season coming next week. Greg James is here, our team principal, as is the ex-F1 Academy driver, Chloe Grant, and we've got champagne too.
Get the glass ready, Chloe, please.
Greg, this is so intense.
God, it's tense.
I need to stay away.
Oh, I was hoping for a little bit more of a pop.
Well, I didn't want to.
Oh, Greg's all. Jesus.
Greg was going for it on the champagne.
Supposed to angle it, Greg.
While Greg's pouring, let's get some views from Chloe Grant. Chloe, McLaren are the Constructors' Champions. What are your immediate reactions to that fantastic news for McLaren fans?
I think it's incredible. It's 26 years since McLaren have won the Constructors' Championship. Obviously, Lando looked very happy there, and Zach even more happy. So yeah, I'm sure every McLaren fan out there is absolutely jumping in joy and deserves some champagne for themselves as well. And I'm very happy for them also.
I think we obviously, anyone who's been with Fast and Curious from the start will know that McLaren have been super kind to us. We speak to Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri a lot on this podcast, so we're very pleased for Team McLaren. But I also think it's worth pointing out at this stage that McLaren are a team who they last won a Drivers' Championship in 2008, more than 2.5 decades since their last Constructors' Championship. The way this team has risen in recent years, they were the slowest car on the grid a couple of years ago in Bahrain. To have risen to the Constructors' Championship is phenomenal achievement. Greg James, you're a Formula One fan. It's good to see him up there, right?
Very, very happy for all of them. It's been a real privilege to get to know some of them over the last couple of years. And we've timed it very well because, Oscar was our first ever interview.
Yeah.
And McLaren they've always had a special place in the heart of sort of British F1 fans, especially sort of British sports fans. It's like it's an iconic team, isn't it? They're very, very famous. There's a great history, great heritage, and for us to sit there and watch it all happen, knowing what it takes from behind the scenes is it's a very impressive thing, isn't it? Cheers to them.
Cheers to them. Cheers, guys. Cheers, guys. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Speaking of impressive, listen, I've had some stick online this year. That's shocking, isn't it? People are normally very calm and level-headed online.
Yeah.
But
Well, you are quite annoying.
I'm a deeply annoying individual. But I've said there's been, Lando said it himself in his interview there. He's made his mistakes this year, and he has. I've said a couple of times this year that Max showed why he's a world champion sometimes when he's gone wheel to wheel with Lando. However, I have been so impressed since losing that Drivers' Championship, the way Lando has reset and knuckled down. And Chloe, from minute one of this weekend, Lando Norris has come out and looked like someone who has said, I am going to lead this team to the Constructors' Championship victory. He was fantastic from wheel turn 1 of Friday practice. Got it on pole, never looked in any doubt. That, to me, Chloe, was a drive from someone who is suggesting they could be a world champion in the future, a driver's world champion. Would you agree with that?
100%. I think the improvement, like you say, with McLaren developing the car has been phenomenal. But I would also say the improvement that Lando himself has made over the years of him starting in F1 in 2019. He's been a boy when he started, and he's now become a man. And seeing him grow as a driver has been really incredible. Seeing him mature as well. So yeah, I mean, looking at him on the top step right now, I think he's definitely championship worthy. But is Oscar maybe a bit more championship worthy with a bit of a harder mentality in terms of a bit more aggressiveness on track?
We have to remember that Oscar is only in year 2 of his Formula 1 career, and as you said,
look at
Zach Brown.
Look at Zach. We're
Brown.
watching the pictures as we record the podcast.
Looking like a drunk gorilla. just like he's grabbed the trophy, the constructors' trophy, and he's just going, yeah.
Which is it's great to see, isn't it? Characters and personalities in sport, and Zach going for it's brilliant, isn't
Fantastic. It's really cool. But they've got it right, haven't they? Behind the scenes, clearly, but on track, they've got this pairing is. This is what's made the difference.
It's a wonderful driver pairing. It's one of the strongest driver pairings on the grid.
Well, it's clearly.
Yeah.
The constructor shows that it's the strongest.
Zach Brown has done a unbelievable job of dragging that team on and off track up the grid. The identity that team has got now, the on-track results, the signing of drivers, the securing Lando long-term, the nicking Oscar from Alpine. Chloe, just to go back to your point, I think, I've been one of these people that said Lando needs to watch out with Oscar, the improvement he showed from season 1 to season 2. But I just want to say, I think Lando at the end, the last few races of this season has shown why it's not going to be as... I think a lot of people are sort of getting a bit carried away with Oscar going, oh, it'll be him. And I said next year, I said in the last podcast episode, if you had to pick one driver, I might well pick Oscar for the title next year. But Lando's performances and the likes of this weekend have just shown it is not going to be easy for Oscar. This has been another weekend where Lando has been head and shoulders above and reminded everyone that I think, as you said, Chloe, he's a driver that's taken a step forward and I think will be right up there with the championship next season.
I think everyone was maybe not worried about it, but we definitely thought earlier in the season, seeing how Oscar is coming on, we definitely thought that Lando should be watching his back a bit and being a bit more worried. But like you say, the past couple of races, I think there's a big difference in Lando and Oscar's driving. They're obviously both very talented, obviously both very fast, but I do think Oscar can be a tiny bit more reckless and kind of
And that'll come with time.
Go for it.
That'll
exactly.
come with
Same
time.
as Lando is what I'm saying. Lando's had that time to develop and mature and get used to it. As you can see, he's quite a calm individual now. And like I said earlier, I think that whole time he wasn't massively worried about the constructors. I think he was honestly just enjoying in the moment and thinking about exactly what he was doing on track. I think Oscar can get a bit more riled up. But Lando's definitely proven in the last couple of races exactly what he's capable of. So next year will be very interesting.
Yeah, we do. Chloe's right. We do sort of forget that Oscar's only a couple of seasons in.
Well, that's it.
And just going through the merry-go-round is exhausting. And you learn all the way. I mean, Lando in his post-race interview just then said he's learning from Max, he's learned from the others. But Oscar is just having to get used to being a Formula 1 driver still. And we're already fast-forwarding him as champion.
Well, and this year, Lando will have had to get used to it. I say Oscar's still getting used to being a Formula 1 driver. Lando is has had to this year get used to being a Formula One driver in a World Championship fight. And don't underestimate how much he'll have learned from this fight this year.
But also, he's just getting used to winning.
Yeah.
He's only just...
And he won his first race this year, Miami.
He's only just getting used to winning.
Great point.
So this is it. So he now... And that only breeds confidence.
Greg,
and just quickly, before we move on from the podium thing, it was really interesting just looking at that scene. It's a Max Verstappen-less scene, which is actually quite nice for those other drivers. Because obviously, he's won. He is the world champion and deserves to be the world champion.
Slow replay
Here's
of
the
Zach.
slow-mo of the gorilla. Zach going for it.
He's basically beating his chest there, isn't he?
Which I love to see it. Just that release of emotion. Fantastic from Zach.
But seeing a Verstappen-less podium at the end of the season here, obviously we know he's the best driver on the grid by a mile, but it shows the strength in depth of not only the talent, but the characters that are there and the people that the fans latch onto.
And this year, all right, we have not seen the end of Max Verstappen winning. Max is the world champion, and as Greg has just said, deservedly so. But what we have seen this year, categorically, Formula One's era of Red Bull domination is over. And exactly as Greg, you say, that podium sums that up.
And you're not missing Max from that race today. It was still a great race,
Yeah,
and there were
definitely.
some great bits of driving. And it was competitive, and it makes the sport way better.
And
it?
of course, we're celebrating the achievement of McLaren being the constructors champions, but we also can't forget what Ferrari have done today. I mean, where did Leclerc start? Way at the back, and he's P3.
And we'll come on to that. I'll come on to that in a minute. Just before we move on from McLaren, we were talking about next year, and Greg, you were mentioning that we're not missing Max. From this year, really, Miami was the turning point. Red Bull dominated the early rounds. I think Miami was round 5. We turned up. Everything changed for Miami. What I'm expecting, Chloe, I expect you're the same, is next year from the Australian Grand Prix, round 1, well, effectively what we had in Miami. There's no reason whatsoever that, as Greg pours more champagne,
Thank you.
that from round 1 next year, Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren and Red Bull will probably all be capable of winning Grand Prix, plus an improvement in Oscar and Lando. Next year, Greg, we could be in, you were talking there about not missing Max, any one of those drivers could win the championship next season. And we got a little sneak peek of that today.
Well, it looks good. Their confidence is high. And sad that Carlos is going to Williams and won't be in a Ferrari suit, but you'll have Hamilton in there. He can win, obviously. He's won the most. Lando can win. Oscar can win. Charles can win. George Russell can win.
Could Kimi Antonelli win?
Kimi Antonelli, he's untested, really. You don't know.
Could whoever's in that Red Bull number 2 seat win? Because it probably won't be Sergio Perez. Yeah.
All these drivers know how to win. They know what it feels like, and they know what to do.
Before we move on from McLaren, I should just say that we will talk plenty more about that story on our next episode, which will come from the McLaren Technology Centre, home of the 2024 Constructors Champions. Me, Greg and Betty will be at McLaren with some special guests. That will be on this very feed next week.
That'll be really exciting to be there. And I'm pleased. I'm pleased for them anyway, because I'm a fan of them and I really love Lando and Oscar. But it would have been very awkward.
Oh, it would have been so awkward.
And Ferrari had nicked it today.
From a podcast production perspective, it's been the right result for the podcast, given that we've set up to go to McLaren next week. Anyway, away from our on-air production meeting, we mentioned at the start of the race, you talked about Max Verstappen. Obviously, him and Oscar had that coming together. Probably a fair penalty for Max, even though it wasn't the most controversial. I don't think Max was dirty. I just think it was, a move that didn't come off. But what it did mean was Charles Leclerc was able to climb I think he climbed 11 places on lap 1 up to P8 and then finished the race on the podium. Chloe, what an unbelievable fight back from Charles Leclerc today.
Obviously, it's amazing what McLaren have done, but let's not forget about what Charles managed today, and also getting to see Carlos on the podium one last time with Ferrari. It's emotional to watch him leave, but there couldn't be a better driver that he couldn't be happier to see take his place. I would say momentarily. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be for too long. I think it's a lovely way for Lewis to say goodbye to the Formula One world as a Ferrari driver. And I hope that Carlos will come back with Ferrari in a couple of years' time. But yeah, I think it's been a really, really good end to the season for both McLaren and Ferrari. Even though they didn't get the constructors, it's nice to see them both on the podium.
From a driver's point of view, Chloe, aside from winning, is coming from the back of the grid to getting into the points one of the most satisfying feelings?
Yeah, a question that you get asked often is like out of two things, what would you rather? And it's usually, would you rather win from coming through the back of the grid, or would you rather win from pole? And every time it's win from coming through the back of the grid.
Yeah.
It's this like electric feeling of just getting all those overtakes and working your way through the field and just feeling unstoppable. So I know how Charles feels right now.
And we should also say, when we did our pre-season preview, Greg, at the start of the year at Caroons,
was that this year?
That was this year.
My
Been
God,
a long old year.
It feels like 25 years ago.
It really does. We were all predicting constructors, and I think very few of us would have predicted, and very few Formula One fans would have predicted Red Bull to finish third. They didn't get the Constructors' Championship in the end, but Ferrari deserve huge credit. You remember last year it was Ferrari mucking up strategy. You know, Ferrari were the sort of joke team. Betty loved to have a go at Ferrari. They have sorted themselves out this year. It's been a brilliant level of improvement from Ferrari, and for them to finish with 5 race wins and on 652 points compared to McLaren's 666 points, Ferrari also deserve great credit. And that's another big reason why we're going into next year with the sport in great health, because we know that they're going to be up there again next year. Well done, Ferrari.
Red Bull are 63 points behind Ferrari.
Which actually...
That's big. That's a big gap.
Which actually, Greg, you could look at it another way. The Red Bull era of domination is over, but Red Bull have done incredibly well to finish in third place in the Constructors' Championship with effectively one driver.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And this is what I've said all season. What have Red Bull prioritised over winning the Constructors' Championship? Because with 2 drivers, even at a similar level, they should have and could have been right up there and could have won this championship.
Here's a question that you can both probably answer. What is it from? I'm the boss of a team. Would I rather have a constructors or a championship driver?
Championship driver.
Okay.
I completely disagree with Chloe. You'd
Really?
rather have the constructors.
Really?
Yeah.
I think
That's
championship driver.
Chloe's speaking from a driver's perspective.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But as a boss,
that they would rather the constructors is more. It's a team sport and it's
rather
more
both.
financially lucrative.
both ideally.
Both,
Yeah.
there's the
Both is
answer.
the right answer, Greg, but it's in Formula One. It's more financially lucrative to finish at the top of the constructors' championship.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. I just, as a driver, I always think
Yeah,
just
of course.
championship win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're asking a racing driver here.
Yeah.
Chloe's speaking from a racing driver's
So
perspective.
why did they do that then? Why did Red Bull do that?
Well,
they
that's
knew
the
they
question
couldn't.
I've been asking for months. Why did Red Bull decide? What did they prioritise over winning the Constructors' Championship? Because they knew that Sergio, it's been obvious all season, hasn't been at the level. So what did they prioritise? Greg, you said Max keeping the Verstappen camp happy in that triangle of power at the top of Red Bull between Christian Horner, Helmut Marko and the Verstappen family. That is one thing. And also money. Let's not kid ourselves. Sergio Perez is financially
I thought I'd get in
lucrative.
trouble for saying that, but I was going to say
Go on.
that.
What were you going to say?
Money. No
Well, I mean, but-
further comment, just money.
But that's what
People
but
are
really-
people are afraid to talk about it, but I'm sorry. The results speak for itself. I'm not going to be afraid to talk about it.
Thank you, Christian.
Clearly, Red Bull have decided money is more important because Sergio has not been at the level all season. It's fact. One man who did a wonderful job after a really disappointing qualifying was Lewis Hamilton. We've seen a few times this season, Chloe, that Lewis has struggled over one lap pace and been better in the race. Of course, Lewis would want to end the Mercedes era with a podium. Of course he would have done with a race win. But actually, you said how satisfying it is for a driver to storm through the field like, to get a good result. Lewis will have enjoyed that today. And to finish up there in 4th and get his teammate after qualifying solo down, Lewis will have enjoyed that, right?
Definitely. I think we're going to see lots of hammer times next year with Lewis and Ferrari. And I'm so excited. Even the anticipation of not just seeing the new drivers, the rookies coming into it, but obviously the cars change every year, sometimes drastically, sometimes not that much. But one thing we're not mentioning as well, Adrian Newey with Aston Martin, will they be a top runner?
No, not next season because he
Never
doesn't start
mind.
working until January 2026, quite possibly.
Christian has all the answers.
No, but I think you're right, Chloe. There will be a change of energy at Aston. There'll be that as we've seen with Zach Brown, culture around the team and the lack of culture around the Red Bull team. Sort of the what's the word I'm looking for? The dissolution of culture around Red Bull, like how it's all fallen apart, has played out on the track. So
absolutely,
actually having someone like
renewed
Adrian
focus.
Newey as the figurehead
Yeah.
will excite people in the factory. It will focus everyone. So there'll probably be some change, I imagine.
There will, and also,
they've got a new mission statement, haven't they?
Mid-season updates are important, and Adrian may not be able to start work at Aston until January.
Right.
But what he will be able to do is have an impact on mid-season updates. That's something Aston Martin have really struggled with this season. So I would expect Aston to maybe do a slow climb up the grid throughout the season, but it's 2026 where you'll truly start to see Adrian's work.
But also perception. Like that is so important in all areas of life, I guess, but particularly sports entertainment, which is a lot of the time. The perception of Aston Martin have brought in this legend. Everyone's like, okay, cool, let's take them seriously. It's funny what the mind can do, isn't it? With those sorts of things.
2025 F1 season. It's this. I can't remember the last time I looked forward to an F1 season this
Absolutely,
much.
Chloe.
I cannot wait to see what happens.
And Aston still did finish best of the rest in 5th this year, although 94 points they'll be really disappointed with, but they did cling on to 5th. But a huge story, if you'd have said to me 4 races ago that Alpine would finish 6th, I would have been staggered. That is a huge story at the end of the season. They've pulled results out the bag. Esteban had a strong end to the season, but a person who had a hugely strong end to the season was Pierre Gasly, and another race today. I have criticised Alpine a lot this season, and deservedly so. So now it's time for me to eat some humble pie and say the pace they have pulled out of this car in the final handful of races of the season has been sensational. And I tell you what, Pierre Gasly has looked fantastic. He looked such a prospect when he was at Toro Rosso and didn't really set the world alight when he came in at Alpine. But Alpine beating Williams, RB and Haas to finish 6th in the Constructors' Championship, that is pulling. So it would look like a total shambles of a season if you're Alpine, and the way they've pulled that back last minute after a change in team principal, Greg, to go in with what you were saying about the Aston stuff. Amazing from Alpine, finishing 6th. And then another strong result here for Pierre Gasly. Chloe, I want to ask you from a driver's perspective. Jack Doohan came in this weekend. Things got a bit awkward between Ocon and Alpine. That relationship ended earlier than it might have done. Jack Doohan's come in this weekend, and it looked like he struggled throughout the weekend. As a driver, going into the winter now, knowing you've come in and struggled in your debut, could that be a potentially long, old winter for Jack Doohan now, knowing that you've had a bit of a tricky weekend?
I mean, there's lots of things that we don't know probably going on behind the scenes. I mean, we have no idea how many test days that Doohan has done. I think Doohan has proved in F2 that he is a really, really good racing driver and he can achieve really high up results. I think maybe it's just, you can understand last minute you're being thrown into an F1 race for the first time. You can imagine the nerves, you can imagine the pressure. So I think it's going to be a flat out winter for him, definitely. Hopefully he gets lots more time testing in the car. But I'm pretty sure he trains pretty hard already and he'll keep that up with Alpine.
It's very much how I felt when I was plucked from obscurity by Greg James and thrown into a seat last minute at Silverstone about the start of last season. I was very nervous. Greg, how do you think I coped with it?
You're doing very well.
Thank you.
Sort of having an Oscar Piastri trajectory, isn't it, with you?
What do you think?
Yeah.
But these when Betty isn't here and I have to actually
What do you mean
steady the
Betty is
shit.
here? She's just
in a crumpled heap on the floor.
Yeah.
Like being with Betty on a Friday night in a bar. Yeah. But when Betty's not here and I have to keep some form of control over this is where it's a real test of my abilities.
I think you're keeping it in track limits. It's
Thank
good.
you. I appreciate it. And this is why you're a phenomenal team principal. This is why you're the Zach Brown of the operation.
Yeah. You just need
it's all love here.
You just got to enjoy it. Enjoy your racing.
Now, let's talk about the best of the rest. So, yeah, we've already said that obviously it was McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, Aston Martin, Haas finishing 7th. Well done, Haas, this season. Big result for them. RB 8th, pretty much where they'd expected. Disappointing year for Sauber. A disappointing year for Williams, I should say, in 9th, and Sauber will just be pleased to finish with some points on the board. They will continue their transition into Audi next season. That is the Formula One standings. But, Chloe Grant, I want to take you into a time machine now. Right. I want to put you in a fast and curious time machine.
Oh, God.
The last time you were in the studio, we were previewing the F1 Academy season, something that you have great authority to talk about, being an ex-F1 Academy driver.
Yeah.
Me and you agreed on something.
And we were wrong.
We were so wrong.
What did you agree on?
What did we agree on, Chloe?
We agreed that the champion would be Pin.
Me, Chloe Grant, the motor racing world were so adamant that the F1 Academy season, everybody said this, wasn't just me and Chloe, everybody said this, that the F1 Academy season was going to be won by Dorian Pan. The world thought she'd got the biggest motor racing CV, the most potential.
Yeah.
It was a slam dunk. She was going to win this championship, and it wasn't even going to be close. Chloe Grant, who won the F1 Academy Championship this weekend.
Abby Pulling won.
Abby Pulling won, who has
just-
been in this very studio.
I would like to say my opinion on thinking Dorian would win. To the person who keeps spam messaging me telling me I know nothing about the sport, I've been in it for 11 years. I think I know what I'm doing. My judgment. Thank you, Christian. My judgment was not based off of race one. We actually recorded that episode before Jeddah even happened.
Right.
My judgment was based off of how Dorian performed in UAE, because Abby's a fantastic driver, nothing against her, but I had never seen Abby perform as well in a mixed championship as Dorian did in UAE.
Mm-hmm.
But Abby came in this year, she absolutely stormed it, she broke records, she did an incredible job, and honestly she shocked me, and I am very, very happy for her. I know her and her family, her dad Andy is the loveliest man you'll ever meet in your life. They deserve it.
Sorry, Andy Pulling and Abby Pulling.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I cannot wait to see how she does in GB3 next year. I actually think she'll be much better in GB3 than she would be in Formula Regional, which is what Garcia and Dorian did this year. I think GB3 is a much more level playing field. Also, the cars are getting a massive upgrade for next year. They have DRS, which is, if you don't know GB3, that is insane. So I think she'll actually do quite a decent job in GB3 next year, and I can't wait to see how she gets on. And also, I'm pretty sure a few other girls will be in GB3 alongside her.
Very cool. And also, that just shows how unpredictable sport should be.
Yes.
That's
Definitely.
why we watch it.
She's put the work in for years and years, and it's finally been worth it.
She's done
So
phenomenally.
well done to Abby.
Yeah, congrats, Abby. That's brilliant. We don't want to watch a thing that's a foregone conclusion. That's what makes it interesting.
She was fantastic, and you saw the Formula One paddock take notice in Miami this year when she put it on pole, and on a sort of, level playing field, stuck it on pole and beat Dorian in terms of pace. And everyone, you could see in the F1 paddock, we were all watching it on the big screens in the Miami Dolphins Stadium, you could see the F1 paddock go, that's impressive. That was the moment we knew Abby was in with a chance this year. She was fantastic.
Very exciting.
And it wasn't just the world predicted Dorian would win. So just to finally conclude this segment, I'd like to say to the person who is giving Chloe stick on Twitter, off. And while we are doing the support series, also this weekend over in Abu Dhabi, Gabriel Bortoleto got the Formula 2 championship. Now, he is a McLaren-backed driver, and he will be on the grid next year racing for Sauber. I think a very exciting prospect there, Chloe. Would you agree?
I completely agree. I mean, winning FIA F3 and then immediately jumping into an F2 car and winning the championship this year immediately after, and then being signed for an F1 team, that's like the dream come true, and he completely deserves it. He's pure talent. He's done an incredible job.
And Greg James,
yep,
pressure on the team principal, who was the last driver to win F3 and then F2 and then get into F1. Who was the last person to do that? You know this. You know this. You know them.
Oh, Oscar.
Oscar
Yay!
Piastri.
I did know that. Yeah.
There we go.
Well done.
So yeah, and listen, this is exciting. We were talking about Jack Doohan earlier. We've got Gabriel coming up. Some exciting rookies going into F1 next season. That was something we were missing, that everybody kept the same driver lineup going into this year. Granted, there's been 15,000 changes throughout the year with Ollie Behrman super subbing, Daniel Ricciardo going, Logan going, and Franco Colapinto will have to wait. But don't underestimate the pressure that Franco Colapinto waiting on the sidelines will put on so many of these drivers. The minute you see drivers underperforming next year, the fact that there is someone clearly capable of performing F1 waiting in the wings in Franco Colapinto, I would be staggered if we don't see Colapinto in F1 at some point next season, but he will have to wait to make that debut.
Of course, we speak about all the rookies that will be moving up to F1 next year, but let's not forget the driver who won the F2 feature race today, Joshua Dirksen. Joshua has come from, he didn't even do FIA F3, he went straight from Formula Regional into F2, and everyone thought he was completely over his head. He went with AIX, who are arguably not one of the quickest teams on the F2 grid, and he won a sprint race and a feature race. He's the first ever driver from Paraguay. How do you say it? Paraguay, thank you.
You're like a friend of mine who can't say Azerbaijan, but yes, Paraguay.
It's a Scottish issue. I can't really pronounce things. To not only get a podium in F2, but also to win an F2 race. As someone who I was very fortunate to meet him last year when he raced in regional, because he raced against, he was teammates with my partner, and I know the frustrations he went through last year. So he is he's done such a good job this year, and he really, really deserves that win he got today. So well done to Joshua Dirksen.
Good knowledge, Grant. Good
you.
knowledge. Right. I've finished my champagne, which means I've very little interest in doing any more podcasting now. But let's do some mopping up before we go. This is our last race debrief of the season. It is not our last episode. I will say something now. I'm going to break this news on the podcast. I've not asked producer Jimmy or team principal's permission, but I'm going to break this news.
What's he saying? We know you're gay.
No, that's not the news.
Oh, right.
That's not the news. That's not everything. The news is we are going to have a break over the winter, aren't we? We're going to have a little break. We're going to have a little pause. We've not actually had a proper break on this podcast since we started.
And I haven't been able to use my yacht.
Greg's not been able to use his team principal yacht.
So, yeah.
So we're all going to go away on that.
I'm off to the
Where's
Yas,
your driver's yacht?
the Yas Marina.
The Yas Marina
I'm going out
circuit.
there after this.
But this has been our final debrief. We've got one more episode of the season before we go off and have our little winter break where we're going to be at McLaren.
I'm going skiing with Toto.
You're going skiing with Toto, are you?
And George. Yeah, we're all sharing a little cabin together.
And if Toto were here in the room now and he was going skiing with Greg James, how do you think he'd review this trip?
Don't forget your thermals. Don't forget your lovely, lovely big boots. And
Lovely
your
big what, sorry?
Boots.
Boots.
I
He said
love
boots
big
there.
boots.
Boots.
That's
He
perfect.
loves big boots and he cannot lie.
No.
Them other brothers can't deny.
Make sure
Anyway.
you put the winter tires on the AMG. Because they are slippy as
Thoughts of Toto Wolff there exclusively on the Have you ever on the Fast and Curious?
I reckon he really cares about winter tires as well. He's one of those guys.
Do you think so?
It's important. Winter tires are important. Especially even on a Volkswagen Polo.
Yeah, I've not got mine done yet.
Get them done.
Make sure
you
you
live in
do.
Scotland as well.
Just get
No,
car-
just drift around the corner.
No, we don't
Front
condone
wheel
that.
drive,
We don't
brilliant.
condone that.
You can
Sorry,
if you're
I
a
mean,
professional racing driver. You can.
Don't drive safely on the road.
We don't condone that. But
What were
we
you
do.
going to say? What was your news? What were you saying?
No, the news is we're having a little bit of a break.
Oh, right.
That's
okay.
fine. The news is that we're having a break. We will be back
That
next
champagne's
season.
gone straight to my head.
You're right, dear.
I've
Very
had 2
fizzy.
glasses.
We
Lovely.
will be back next season. Chloe Grant, we would like to see you again next season. Will you come in and
hope
talk
so.
about motor racing with us again
I
next
would
season?
love to,
Thank
Christian.
You.
We
Well,
love having you on the
we
podcast.
I
love
love
having you on.
being here.
Well, we will see you next season. Chloe, thank you for coming in and chatting to us this weekend. Greg, thank you to you for
pleasure.
giving up your Sunday and, most importantly, for bringing in some champagne for
You're
us
welcome. And laughs.
and laughs. If you would like us to put questions to the team at McLaren, Fast Curious Pod is where you can find us on the various social medias. We will be back in the week with our final end of season special episode from the home of the Constructors World Champions, McLaren. That is coming next
Sorry.
week. Chloe's had a little bit of a cough because the champagne's gone to her head.
Sorry,
Greg's
guys.
already getting giggly. So this is the perfect time to say until next week when we're going to be at the home of the champions. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey.
Hey,
Bye, driver.
papaya rules.